Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are BaltimorePositive.com. Hoping you set a space out on your dial. If you're not on our text service, you'll be soon, or you should be, in regard to sports news and information. We're firing that back up this week. It's all brought to you by Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. I'm about to have a chat with Bill Cole. I'm about to plug the fact that we're going to be at Fadley's on Friday, giving away Maryland lottery tickets with our friends at Jiffy Lube, as well as Liberty Pure Solutions. Keep my water crystal clean. And I am on day 11 now, 12, getting up on the Oyster Tour. We're going to have all of that out at Baltimore Positive as well, with our friends at Curio Wellness, who have given me the I'm a blunt person shirt. And there's a lot of ways to take this. It almost looks kind of fake on the thing, like looks like Electric Company or something like that. Bill Cole joins us now. I'm still embarrassed that I have not replaced the mug that I broke that I loved. It was like my binky. It's been about 6 weeks since I broke your mug. I don't have anything to hold up here for you. We could talk roofing, solar, my tech service, my Eric DaCosta letter this week, whatever. There's an election coming up. But you and I go back, like way back as sports fans, and you were allegedly an intern here with Bob Haney 25 years ago, which is an era I still don't remember. I do remember Bob doing a basketball show on Sunday mornings. But the sports part of this month was supposed to be like the Rush song. We were supposed to be drinking the honey from the nectar and the milk of the gods. This was supposed to be the greatest month ever because, like, we were coming back off of this disappointing football game. And the baseball team was like riot fire at the All-Star break and the greatest thing ever. And playoff tickets are going on sale and like all that. This has been such a turd this week, right? Like just 0-2, 10-0 on Tuesday night. Who's playing? People that are Birdland people have gotten their $3,000, $4,000, $8,000 playoff strips in their World Series, this and that. And my God, what a difference a week makes, dude. Last week we were talking about, lost to the Chiefs. It was close. Now we're talking about, oh my God, what's going on with the sports scene here? I used to be a sports guy, even though you sucked me into politics 15 years ago.
I like to chalk it up to the whole idea that in order to truly enjoy the wonderful good, you've got to have the pain of bad. So to be able to counterbalance that.
We've had a
So
lot of pain in baseball, dude. You don't need any more pain than 10-0 on a Tuesday night. You almost getting no hit on Friday. You look up, you got 2 hits. I went into Cooper's North to check out Dr. Lou's brisket after I did my yoga class on Tuesday night to watch the end of the game. I walk in, they had 2 hits. They got a hit when my food got served, and I'm like, I'm good luck. I'm here on good luck. And then Kimbrel came in. I'm just saying, man, it has been a really tough slog to be really invested in sports. I had Leonard Raskin on this week talking about going down to the ballpark and you got a 10-point lead and then you don't, and you leave there in traffic and they lost and they're 0-2, and at least there was baseball. And my God, now this thing's really teetering with Dallas and Buffalo and Cincinnati to saying, my God, my birthday's October 14th. And by the way, you're invited. I'm doing the birthday show, my 56th birthday. Appropriately, we're going to be having crab cakes at Pizza John's in Essex. That sounds a little weird, but they have a great crab cake there. But I'm going to have some pepperoni pizza too. Where are they going to be October? Where are we going to be October 11th? I mean, like,
Hey, look, I don't want to just gloss over the fact that the Terps did win on Saturday because we kind of hit on that Maryland football conversation last
who'd
time.
they
So
play?
like Virginia. So
Okay.
that was like I don't think that was unexpected, but it was in doubt. I found myself watching another Maryland football game, which was kind of odd.
Well, we did an hour on Maryland football last week,
We
which was
did.
a direction you and I have never gone in before.
Yeah, no, it was fun to watch. Yeah,
I'm
look.
still waiting for you to call me on that Saturday morning and say, I got a deuce on the 35 and I got a kegger
Yeah, that's
and I
not gonna
got some
happen.
Rofo fried chicken. I'll pick you up. We'll
Right.
park. Let's go. Let's go down and look at movie
Yeah, I don't
girls
know.
and let's
That
go to the
that
game
seems
and no, we're
that
not going to do that.
that seems like a stretch.
All right. Well, there you go. So I don't know, from all of our get off my lawn stuff last week,
more
at some
likely
point,
more likely to invite you to my couch than I am to invite you to drive down there.
or figure out where the halfway point between your house and my house
Yeah,
is
right.
and find a place, right?
Yep, sure. I'm there, right. We could definitely find a fine establishment to yeah, sit
You're
at
gonna
and
find this
watch.
hard to believe, but I don't have a man cave. You know what I mean? All these
Yeah,
years in, I'm not a sit on the couch at all and watch sports. I'm much more stand up and watch sports guy than a sit
right,
down and watch sports guy. But I don't even have a man cave. So invite me to yours. I'll come.
right.
I'll
You
bring
know,
the beer.
I think that the joke in my circles after the Chiefs game was, well, these are clearly the two best teams in football. We both are going to paste everyone from here until the AFC Championship game. All that really was for the home field in that game. So now we'll have to go beat Kansas City in Kansas City to get to the Super Bowl. And everything was written the whole season. We didn't even really need to play the season after that game. That's how like convincing that game was. But we all know, ha ha ha, it's hard. These things are hard. Same thing with baseball. Like it's hard. There is some amount of luck catching lightning in a bottle, dodging the injury bug, like the whole thing, all the pieces come together. You know, so and so's having marital problems, so and so's like got nagging injuries, so and so's in a contract dispute. I mean, the amount of distraction,
Well, let's
for
look at the Ravens.
anything.
Right? That just it's a great point you bring this up. Look at the Ravens, and we can all say the offensive line's problematic, right? I mean, let's just say it's problematic, right? And
Yeah,
Ronnie Stanley's
I'll
played
say.
well, Linderbaum, but just in a general sense, when you can see Max Crosby say, "I'm coming at the 6'8", 350-pound guy, and he can't stop me all day long," and that side of the line, everything got blown up, right? I mean, it's taxed Lamar. Lamar's has to run. Lamar doesn't have time to pass. Lamar's throwing errantly because he doesn't have time to set and pass. All of that coaching goes away when it becomes street ball and the play breaks down because Max Crosby's on your ass. And this week it's going to be Parsons, right? So I would just say from that perspective for the Ravens alone, forget if you love John Harbaugh or hate him, if you think the secondary hasn't been very good, if you're worried about Zach, or I'm going through the whole list of Luke's top 12 this week, right? 12 things to be concerned about the Ravens. The offensive line, to me, is a human issue. They had one of the best offensive line coaches in the sport. And anybody, I had dinner with Marvin Lewis the other night. Marvin got choked up talking about Joe Delisandros. When we brought it up, Marvin had to move on because Marvin was going to cry. And
Yeah.
Marvin's like, that was a really good man. I was at Amici's and getting served food with Marvin, and someone there was from the neighborhood. Joe Delisandros went to church every single day at the church in Little Italy, and nobody knew who he was. And he had eaten in Amici's, and people knew him. And I'm thinking to myself, they believed they had these young offensive linemen and a haul of pretty good Ronnie Stanley and a really solid guy in Linderbaum, and thought, we'll coach the other guys up. And we have a coach here and whatever. And all of a sudden, the guy that's been in the room leading these men for years is dead. They're in the middle of a season. They're not good enough. They have a different coach who just met them a month ago. He's been in camp since like August 9th or something. Like Luke gave me the number the other day, and I'm like, they just met their coach. And now they're out here overmatched. And they got I said they had a $50 million quarterback and a 50-cent offensive line. But dude, it's a human issue. You mentioned
Yeah.
all the things that could be going on aside from injuries and this and that and the schedule and who I'm playing and whether we're in over our head. Man, the Ravens have had a real I told Luke this the other day too. Saturday, after we left Marvin, by the way, took Marvin back to the Marriott, saw Gardner Minshew and a bunch of the players, walked out right where the murder happened, right in front of that Ruxton. Like there was a murder that happened while the Raiders were asleep upstairs, Saturday night at midnight. So we were walking down Eastern Avenue or Fleet Street, and Jameel McClain, former Raven, who's my friend. I mean, Jameel and Keisha have been in my home. We're friends. I said to Jen, this is Jameel's place, the Black Swan. I said, I did my show here. And it was 7 o'clock on Saturday night, right? About that time. Still light out. And we're walking back to our car because we had been at the Fells Point Oyster Festival. By the way, Patrick Russell and Cooper's 26,000 oysters. They shucked on the square on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we parked. We went down at Oysters. We used the city as we always. I'm Baltimore positive. So I said to Jen, let's stick our head in the Black Swan. It's beautiful space, I said to her, and they have great food. we walk in and it's vibing, you know. I mean, it was like a club, you know, at 7 o'clock. But no, I mean it's a beautiful space. I mean, walked in and the first thing I saw was Bryant McKinney sitting at the bar, all big Bryant. And I look to the right, and Jamil's like the bouncer. He's at the door. And I look to the left, and there's Anthony Allen. I look here, and there's Vontae Leach. They were celebrating the life of Jacoby Jones. I
Uh,
accidentally walked into a party where Dallas Thomas came in, who we talked about our time together in Las Vegas and his restaurants down in Charlotte, and Dave Sadeghi. So small to more, dude. But this football team has been through this Jacoby Jones thing and this Joe Delisandris thing that affects them every day on that offensive line. So you talk about human issues and the toll that that takes. I, you know, I can bring it up because I know what that's about when how hard that is in season when you're getting your ass kicked like they are right now. And this is really tough slate for both of these franchises right now and the fan bases, right? And the expectations of all of our buddies that got their Orioles season books this week and said, hey, congratulations, we're making the playoffs. Here's the bill. Put it on. It's a cruise, expensive cruise. You know, it's just, and the fans are a little like, oh my God, this is a week I'm happy I'm not just in the sports radio business because even though it's bad news, it doesn't carry well if the Ravens are 1-7. It doesn't. I mean,
well,
and I
that's
told Terrell Suggs, there's nothing about these teams losing that helps me. Nothing. I hold them accountable. I'm tough on them. I have a love hate or whatever it is with them, but I don't want them
right.
to lose.
Yeah, I mean that was where for all the internal problems or concerns or the grieving or you know what I mean, that's and maybe there's a lack of leadership around that, right? Like at some point in your grieving path or the challenge of life, like somebody grabs you and shakes you by the shoulders and is like, okay, like I
Joe
get
would
it.
have wanted you to do this,
Yeah,
right? Like,
it's
yeah.
time to get to work, right? Like so and I don't know if John Harbaugh's message is, you know, just stale and flat and he's unable to be the shoulder shaker or whether there's some, you know, daggone, what's our linebacker? You know, the
Roquan Smith. You
there you
talk about
go, whether
leadership. Well, I feel
yeah,
that way
whether
about
he's the
Rutschman
one
too.
that
I
can
mean,
do it.
we're
Yeah,
meandering
like
between the two sports, and this is a hell of a week to do that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
Rutschman, from the minute he came up, he was the patch on the ass guy. He was the pepper
right,
guy. He was the come
right,
on. He was the like. And Ripken was never that guy, right? I mean, Ripken had a different leadership. So did Joe Flacco. So, but Ray Lewis was that guy for sure,
right,
right?
right.
So when that energy, we talk about the energy that Ray Lewis brought just dancing before games and what that did to the opposing team, psychological, the
Sure.
sound, the movement, what happens when something bad happens with the home crowd. But the home crowd booing the home team and the Craig Kimbrell incidents, it's just been, I don't want to say we're a bad sports town. We're not a great sports town. And I think we used to be. And I think part of that is Angelos wrecked it. Part of it is I used to be a great sports fan. What did it get me? Look at my experiences. I spent my whole life doing this, and they have shat upon me royally. And I look this week with the ball club, and like the place is half empty. I mean, even Luke, after the 10-0 thing, Luke's like, dude, it was really demoralized. It's really, we're at a bottom spot here, and this is where I'm the coach. And I said to him, and I'll coach you and everybody in the audience up. The Orioles win game one. All you got to do is win game one because you can win
Right.
114 games and lose game one, and you're in a hole. You're in an
Well,
S hole.
that was last year,
Yeah,
right? Like
right.
you mean, despite all your success. Look, the scariest part of this entire conversation is Cowboys, Bills, Bengals, right? Like the next
They don't
three.
look like they're ready to win three of them.
Right.
You know,
The next three, until you finally get around the corner a little bit and find the Commanders, and you're like, okay,
well, they got a
maybe we can,
quarterback. That kid can
right, maybe we
play.
can breathe. So I don't know, man. It is definitely scary. And for whatever you want to say about, we know this isn't true statistically. 0-2, I get it, is not the same as 0-4. Like 0-4 teams don't make the playoffs. I'm sure there's a fair amount of 0-2 teams that have made it, but it ain't a lot. It's not a lot of 0-2 teams that make the playoffs. So,
It's God, I can't believe like how dark the feeling is. And I hope it's different 2 weeks from now. I mean, they get past the Tucker makes a kick and beats
right,
Dallas and his home state. And then, and then the Bills come in here and they bring their mafia and they jump off tables and like wrestling animals and bring their beef on whack and we beat them by a field goal, in a rainstorm or so. I'm making this up, but like
sure,
getting back to sort of 2-2 feels really hard. Just to get
right.
back to 2-2 would be really. Then you go on the road to Cincinnati. But the baseball team, I mean, Luke has gone so far as to say if they played another week, they wouldn't make the playoffs. I mean, what they're putting on the field right now, and I don't know, dude. If I took your 5 best roofers out of your workforce the next 6 weeks, what happens to your business?
Uh, I
3
don't
crew
want
leaders and 2, one number one and one other key guy on a crew. What happens? Probably duct tape and rubber bands for a little bit, right?
100%. Like other leaders will have to step into roles that they're not used to filling. Some moving like laterally or from a project manager into a supervisor role, or some moving from like a right-hand man into a leadership role. And
Or
I
more
don't
than
know.
that, Bill Cole
I
takes on and goes back down and works the roofs himself for a couple of weeks.
right.
They can't do that in baseball. Like it doesn't work that way with starting pitching. What you get is Cade Povich is what you get.
Uh yeah, so two different challenges for the two sports. So with a salary cap, you are handcuffed, right, as to how much depth you can actually have up to speed, ready to step in. Like in baseball, I mean, it kind of is the same. It's just not a money thing. It's more of a roster spot thing, and you can't bury an entire Major League Baseball quality team on your AAA team just because you've got the rights to it. Like that's so. In all those cases, I don't know, man. Like we are forced to do a lot of career planning and training with people who want to be on the path. Like we want to hire people who aren't satisfied at the role they come in at. They want to get to, the next role and the next role and the next role. And those make, great teammates. So our business, I don't know. That's a really interesting
Well, I think for
conversation
anybody
around.
out there, not just that runs a business, but as a part of anything, if this should be very clear that if you take Means, Bradish, Batista, just go down the list of
Right,
Wells,
sure,
then
sure.
then you take Webb out, you take Colomb out, you take and but the bats have really been the problem on the baseball side, right? The baseball side's been there, haven't hit the ball, and that's been about Westberg, Mountcastle, Urias. Nobody loved Mateo till he's gone and his speed. You're going to miss him next, 2 weeks from now when they got to play playoff games, and having runners and one-run games and all of that stuff. It just feels like everyone should understand what happened with the Orioles. And when my wife's sitting here watching, saying, "Who's the guy with the beard, Rivera, that just hit the home run? Who are
Right,
these people?"
sure, sure.
And who is this Austin Slater and Eloy Jimenez? These aren't the guys that were 24 games over 500 back in June. And so it's a different team. In the same way that if, God forbid, the Ravens play without Lamar, without Derrick Henry, without Marlon Humphrey, without Mokon Smith, they're going to look like a different football team, like they did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when they got injured, big time injured, and couldn't play. And Ronnie Stanley wasn't upright, and Marlon Humphrey wasn't right, and Lamar was out, and Lamar was holding out. Lamar wanted to get paid, and all of that. And to your point, he got paid. Now the offensive line is what it is. That's
Right,
football.
right,
Baseball, different, man, because this owner took on $18 million on Zach Eflin for next year to be the starter next year, looking ahead. So I feel like Elias, and it's a great week to get down on him about the Trevor Rogers deal and it not being good enough. But to me, I'm not down on Elias. I'm really not. And honestly, I'm not even down on DaCosta, although you could read my piece last week, not on a personal level, but on a football level. Um, they believed in this Voorhees kid. I don't know why Falele's playing. And this is a great example. Like the Ben Cleveland words the other day, it's almost like reverse Schleprock when Harbaugh starts saying, I like Ben Cleveland. He's not playing. You don't like him, John. Yeah, so you
Right.
start to get the vibe of you read John Harbaugh's lies, which I've had to do professionally. It's cost me my professionalism at one point, not reading one of his lies well enough and thinking he had integrity he didn't have. But I'm not down on DaCosta. I'm not down on Bateman as a draft pick or Flowers as a draft. I mean, they had a 10-point lead with 10 minutes left to get. Harbaugh's not the village idiot then.
Right.
No, he's the village idiot not managing the timeouts. And you and I could go back and forth, you being a CEO and a leader and a responsible guy, to say, we didn't have insurance for that thing that went, whatever the business is, you look at it and say, how do we not have this buttoned up? He's a $15 million a year executive who is had a dark habit of throwing that red flag when he doesn't have any evidence, and there's supposed to be a system and a professional watching it and like all that. So I'm much more about down on that than I am down on Elias or DaCosta about the talent, or it's their fault that things are falling apart, because I'm not at that level.
Yeah, I think the ironic and um fast moving wind changes that occur in the NFL, like week one, they have power rankings, and I'm sure all the people that are professionals would really take exception to what I'm about to say, but like you only sort of know who's going to be good and who's not at week one, right? By week 4, 5, 6, right? Your opinion is much more well-rounded.
Well, and
Um,
Vegas sorts that out. Look at how good the Saints have been, right? So the Saints have been really good. The Ravens haven't been very good. So it's gonna cost them on the. I mean, the point spread is the stock market,
well, that's
literally,
I
right?
think last week we were the largest favorite on the board, and this week we're a dog, to the Cowboys. So it's
They were a
and
1 point favorite when they were installed. That may have moved.
yeah, I just
Ravens
looked
were
it
a
up.
1 point favorite when the board
Oh,
went up.
yeah, we still are. You're
Okay,
right.
I just
Wow.
want to get that
That's
right.
No,
But
you're
getting it
right.
right's all
I
about,
got
like, by
one
Friday.
and a half I'm looking at right now, favorite. Yeah.
Well, so Mr. Big comes in from Dallas, says, "I'll take that 1.5. I'll put a million down." The line moves. So
Sure.
that is the stock market on it. But it is interesting that people still have confidence in the Ravens because they had a 10-point lead with 10 minutes left to go. They look at these implosions as being outliers.
Yeah. Again, to me, NFL is injuries. Like, if you dodge the injury bug, you're gonna be there. And, even bad teams, I think, can sneak into the playoffs because, two or three better teams had major injuries in November, and there were enough games left to change, the
How
outcomes.
about this? Kirk Cousins is a guy who won a game the other night, right? And you look at him and his body of his work and the career and all that. He's a guy that I would say you have to go a long way to win a Super Bowl with him. And I've watched him, and he can be
Sure.
successful. I feel that way about Lamar. I mean, I really do. I feel like navigating 17 weeks where he runs into linebackers, and I got into this with Raskin and this is an interesting, because you love this, the risk reward play is like everything in your mind works on risk reward, Bill Cole. So Lamar was moving toward the sidelines, and he clearly was kind of going out of bounds, but there's a point where he's a quarterback and he always thinks the world's out to get him, and he's right, and that's fine. And whatever he thinks or says, or whatever the black-white issue is, because it's always black and white when it's Lamar and right and left and Trump and not, and like whatever with people's comments. But for me, from a football perspective, it looked to me like he's trying to draw the late hit flag a little bit, like getting toward the sideline, and sort of, they know he can run. He's Lamar. Is he giving himself up? Well, if you give yourself up, you slide. If you're giving yourself up, you're running sideways as fast as you can. And if you get hit sprinting toward the sideline, I'll give you 15. I can see you getting some help. But Lamar played a little game the other day and went up on a sideline and did a little tippy yippy and then started to walk out, and he got shoved. And everybody 60,000 people want 15 yards. And I'm thinking, you're not going to get that, dude, because you're a threat to run. And Tom Brady is going to get that. And Peyton Manning's not because they're white, not because they're old, because they're not a threat and because it is a cheap shot. Somebody shoving you when you still got 1 foot in bounds and you are a threat on the edge. And if you don't want to get hit, you don't want to get shoved, get out of bounds. But I think it's bad risk reward to be looking for 15 yards there and saying, Coach, if I just pull up a little bit, he'll give me a shove. We'll get 15 free. Well, I don't want your head flying toward the visiting bench. I don't want you leaving your feet if you're Lamar Jackson. And I don't know how to bubble wrap him. And Luke said something that was brilliant this week. Luke's like, you don't tell Superman not to fly, then he's not Superman. And I'm thinking to myself, that's the problem. And when I think of Kirk Cousins, I think he's not winning me a Super Bowl. But to your point, they're a very good football team in December if he's standing and the three other quarterbacks in the division aren't. All of a sudden, they're a playoff team. They're a good playoff team because their quarterback survives 16 weeks and shows up as mediocre and as interception prone and whatever. He's going to win some games, go lose some games. Joe Flacco, whoever that guy is that you consider to not be Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, or maybe even Aaron Rodgers or whoever you consider to be that, Joe Burrow, whoever you think's that guy, that middling quarterback, just staying healthy is everything. And that's the thing about Lamar that just couldn't practice last Monday. It's week 1. The style of his play and what he needs from the offensive line, I'm not sure he's going to get it this year. And that's not me bitching about 0-2. I just think their level of success this year, that offensive line, it's got to get better. And they had a death of their offensive line coach, which I covered 15 minutes ago. I just think it's really, this could get to be a slog quickly for them. This is hard.
Yeah, we know that it is totally unacceptable to have a second quarterback sitting on your bench and then strategically decide that you're going to sit your MVP down for 6 games a season just so you can ensure that he's healthy for the playoffs. Like, that's a strategy that is unacceptable in the NFL today. But as this thing continues to evolve, I mean, did everyone realize that running backs weren't going to be the running back on every down 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever, 20 years ago, where we're going to have one running back that we go out there on first and second down, and then we're going to bring another guy in on third down, or we're going to have a guy who can catch better and a guy who can run better, and then we'll have a guy that we'll put in just down by the goal line because, he can get me 1 yard no matter
Well,
what.
you have 53 players. So this was all part of the strategies and the analytics, the pre-analytics of what makes us more valuable. And Brian Billick loved tight ends, right? Like he liked 2 tight ends. He thought that was a better way. He thought a really athletic tight end on a linebacker or safety is a bigger mismatch than Randy Moss on whomever, Chris McAllister, more even. He's looking for mismatches.
Sure.
And part of mismatches is let's make Pat Ricard a fullback. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Just trying to create mismatches, which is everything they do with Kyle Hamilton. It's everything the Raiders did with Max Crosby the other day. It's everything that they try to scheme with Devontae Adams. Let's go after the nickelback. Let's go after the weakest place, the weakest seam with our best player. And that turned into specialization, literally, to the point where you have like long snappers that have a gig.
Right. Yeah, but that is what Lamar does every down, gives you an advantage, right? Is a mismatch. But what we're saying is like the likelihood that he will string together, I don't know, how many, what is it? You got to win 17. So what you gotta like if you get the bye, you gotta play 20 games to win the Super Bowl, 21 games, whatever it is, right? How likely can we have that advantage through that whole stretch? Or are we okay just making the playoffs at like 10-7 or whatever the hell it is nowadays, and having him sit down weeks where we play another play or sit down series inside games.
Well, you
Like
sit down
literally
series
run another
inside
guy
games
out.
when you're up 38-10, 9 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. And I remember
Yeah, but that
I
doesn't
kid
happen,
Luke
right?
about blowing out last year. He's like, the Orioles need more blowouts. They need to, and I'm like, yeah, well, and then the Ravens went out and blew out teams last year, and that's the ultimate way. It's the way they kept Peyton Manning fresh. It's the way that the Patriots could keep Tom Brady fresh late in years. But Belichick believed in playing his guys in the same way that Leo Mazzoni believed in pitchers throwing every day. Like he believed in that, even though he wasn't a rocket scientist or an arm specialist or anyway. But these
I don't know. I
the
think
belief
you're
system in
seeing,
the NFL is protect my quarterback as little they put a helmet on it. They put a red jersey, like
right.
bubble wrap the quarterback. And that's why I'm saying Lamar thinking 15 yards
Yeah,
on the
silly. Right.
sidelines is a good here and now. It's bad for Lamar to get hit ever
Right.
for me. And then Luke would say, well, you're telling Superman not to fly. And I'm like, okay, somewhere in there, somewhere in there, how about this? Bill, I got the most beautiful piece of real estate ever. You and I are going to go in. You're going to put $500,000. I'm going to put $500,000. But the place is worth 10 million. So we're going to get in. It's going to be Outer Banks. We're going to buy a house out on the Outer Banks. And you'd say, well, there's going to be a hurricane there. Yeah, eventually, but not this year. Well, eventually. Yeah, well, risk management. Why don't we buy a place where the land doesn't move and the store? Like, the quarterback thing to me, high risk, high reward. And to your point, 5-6 years into this, he's lost weight. You talked about that last week in our segment where we did all the Terp stuff. That I don't get that we all haven't figured out that's why you brought Derrick Henry in, that you don't want him running the ball 200 times. Can you win without him doing that? You need to be ahead for him to not do that. There needs to be success early in game. All the things they really haven't had the last 2 weeks because of the
There's
offensive line.
there seems to be this concept of themes with Lamar. Like, and maybe all football teams do this. Maybe it's the media that does this. I don't know whether this is a proactive approach, but like last year, I feel like the theme was he really worked on his passing and his reads, and like he was going to be a pocket passer and be better at that, and he was going to fling it all over the place. And we really did see that in his play on the field. And then we're all longing for the way we absolutely worked people in the first year when we're running out these crazy formations and doing all this crazy stuff and no one was prepared for it. Oh, wait, all the way until you get to the playoffs and they move their safeties into linebackers and that was the end of that attempt. So the theme here is he lost weight to run more, to be faster, more agile. So is it Lamar deciding these themes in his career and what he wants, and
Well,
what
he
his
gave
look
the
back
ball up
was?
with the game on the line on a punt at the end of the game, right? Like he threw the ball backwards and he had two guys to beat. And I guess he decided he couldn't beat them,
Right.
but it was like,
I
that
just
sort of blew
I
me
just
away
don't
because it
know.
didn't give them a better
Right.
chance to win as a
Right.
decision to throw the ball back. Most people were like, Lamar, go break one of their ankles. Stop up, pull up, watch them run into each other, run into the end zone and laugh at them. And we're going to overtime, right? Or worse
Right.
than that, Harbaugh's like, two, 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 let's win the game.
Right. Right. No, I just my question there is the team doing postseason debriefs and saying, well, I think the thing that we missed this year was we needed Lamar to run more and we need him to get a little lighter and be a little more agile. Or was it Lamar in his debrief of last season saying, yeah, I want to be faster. I don't like the way I want to be quicker. I want to be able to break ankles, make them run into each other and dance into the end
And
zone.
part of that might be he's at 27, he'll never be as fast as he was at 21.
And are they all sitting down and having that conversation
I
together,
don't know.
right? Or is
I don't know. I mean, John Harbaugh hasn't no conversation on when to throw a red flag. Like there's no system. That's clear. I mean, it's really clear it's John's feelings. John's looking at the scoreboard, holding the flag, looking at the scoreboard. And meanwhile, at home, I've already seen the balls hit the ground. Like literally, Bill,
Right. I got
literally,
you. I
I'm at
got you.
home and this plays into the fact that they have a president of the organization that has me banned from a CEO, a Baltimore club meeting, because he doesn't want questions from me, right? They're weird people at this point. Like I said, Rosemary's Baby is what I wrote in my Eric DaCosta thing. The kayfabe part of the scoreboards in the stadium, dating back to Billick, was show kayfabe, show what makes us look good, show what the referee will see, and the fans will get shitty, and the referee will see, and Harbaugh could point up and throw his flag and all that rah rah, and that's going to turn things. No, it's not. New York
No, but it
saw the
it
ball
makes
hit the
for good
ground.
entertainment. Makes for good
Okay, it
entertainment.
makes for a wasted timeout. It makes for a coach who's got egg running down his face, and he's the only one. These emperors with no clothes, right? So I'm just saying their system. They're the
Yeah.
$5 billion team. I'm not betting on the games. I just need them to win because I live in Baltimore, right?
Right.
So at the end of the day, they say there's a system. He's a $15 million a year CEO executive that's in charge of that department. And if that's where they are in 2024, is what is my home television operator who works for me, who I intimidate because he intimidates everyone. John Harbaugh, that's his game. John Harbaugh's game is bully. That is his game. It is. It's always has been his game. So if the idea is to not show the coach up on the screen that the ball hit the ground so that the fans go, oh, instead they want the fans to be pissed. They want a replay. They egg the coach on. The coach throws the flag. And meanwhile, at home, I've seen the second replay that's showed the ball hit the ground, and how the coach who's responsible for that upstairs isn't hitting the buzzer down to John and saying, John, ball hit the ground, ball hit the ground, ball hit the ground. Put the flag away, put the flag away, put the flag away. And that ends it. Because I was yelling that from here. John's got the flag. I'm like, John, put the flag away. John,
Right.
put the flag away. I'm watching it at home, and I know I'm in delay. So I don't get it. I don't get that system. And it's the media's beating him up on Sunday and Monday as an 0-2 coach. But these are, there's a lot of questions for them that I used to ask that I'm not allowed to ask anymore. And, and part of it are these like, is Lamar skinny because of this or because of that? Quite frankly, if whatever they told you is probably a lie anyway. To me, here's where it is with Lamar for me, losing weight and that, is he is a better threat when he does run because of Derrick Henry. You want to really put in their heads that when he's in that seam with the handoff, that you got to get a freight train or a speedboat. Which one do you want? And which direction are they going in? And that has to be the game. Now, that's not the game when the guard and the tackle on the right side are pushed back
Right.
4 yards, 5 yards deeper than it was in practice. And then it was in scout team, right? Like, there's no way to practice how we're going to have a good play when the play's blown up at the line of scrimmage, right? So,
Yeah, I agree.
Bill Cole is here. He's Cole. You got anything else for me? I thank you for allowing me to vent because I haven't had a chance to do that much this week.
Well,
I
I
really haven't.
would just only say that at this point in my life, I don't get too high on the highs and too lows on the lows because next week it'll be something else, right? Like we'll either do something else really dumb and be mad at somebody else on the team, or somebody will do something amazing and we'll have a new favorite player, and that's how it goes every single week, and that's what makes it fun, I think. So.
I'm in a. I used to be a professional doing this journalist, and Diana Rossini, who works for ESPN, she did or maybe NFL Network, I don't even know, but she's really cool. She's like this, if I were younger and, at times she's just a cool woman, and she got a husband, got pregnant. I saw on the air, had her baby. She apparently did Le Batard show or Dan Patrick show and says that her husband, when the Eagles lose, like she didn't want to be around the house. She's like, he mopes all, like she went on the air and said, My wife would tell you that was me in 2006. Like after that Peyton Manning Colts
Sure,
game,
sure.
I blubbered for 3 days and literally used my points and went to the islands because I couldn't think about football in that way. When Billy Cundiff missed that kick and I had 14 buses and 450 hotel rooms in Indiana and I was ready to throw a party and I had Child's Play or Charm City Devils ready to come out and play and Broad Ripple and like
Yeah.
there were real business issues for me that some of my ex-employees who don't like me anymore didn't never understood. Like it's a business, it's money, it's this, it's that. I, I felt that without being a gambler on it or without being John Harbaugh
Right,
or Eric DeCosta or whatever as a vested fan and a citizen. But I'm not anymore in that way. You know what I mean?
right.
I don't. They're 0-2, and it's not affecting my week other than how I have to speak about it. I don't have to sit here 4 hours a day and have people bitch in ridiculous terms about it, which used to drive me a little crazy too when they lost. People call and beat me up. So I don't deal with that. But there is a point where I feel the temperature, just around town. I was around town Monday and Tuesday. I was out and about. I'll be out on Friday at Fadley's. Even Luke's like, man, ballpark was really, So I'm hoping something gives me a pick me up because sports has been fun for us lately. Really has been. And I miss that, and I don't want to piss on that. I want to glorify that. I
I
want
mean,
them to
it
win game
will.
one 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, no, it will. Like, you go beat them Bills, everybody will be really happy. I mean, Cowboys, sure,
You can't
but
be 0-3, dude.
right, you beat them Bills, like all of a sudden everybody's super
0-3, and the
excited.
Orioles going to Yankee Stadium next week. 5 games back. Like, oh my God. It's a good thing. You know what? 1057 The Fan. Give him a call. 410-481 The Fan. Call the fan right now. Bill Cole is here. Dude, get me a mug or a shirt or something. All right.
Yes, I that is on me, not you.
Wendy
So
loves that I wear the Curio gear, and that because
right.
especially with you, because listen, when the Whistler listens to my show and quotes me, it's always something that I've said to you. So I know Greg Bader listens to our segments because he sort of knows this is, when Bill Cole and I get together, that's when I sort of go off the deep edge. That if I'm going to say anything really, actionable, this would be the time. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
I'll have to
No
think
one
about that
listens.
one. I'm not sure what that means. Right,
No one
right.
listens. He's Bill Cole. I'm Nestor. We're Baltimore Positive, WNST, AM 1570, and we never stop talking positivity in game one. They're going to win. And I don't know if they're going to win in Dallas or not this weekend, but I'm going to pray for the offensive line.